Welcome to WikiAfrica Hour, where Africa's Wikimedians talk to, learn from, and discuss with each other topics they choose. Each session is curated by African Wikimedians to expand Africa's open movement. Today's host is Cecilus Obanyaya.
Hello, lovers of free knowledge. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the episode 15 of the Wiki Africa Hour, titled Wikimedians In Residence. I'm Cecilus Obanyaya, your host. The term Wikimedians in Residence is used to refer to Wikimedians who dedicate time to working in-house in an organization. Wikimedians in residence are usually financially compensated by the institution or by a Wikimedia chapter, but they may also be volunteers. A Wikimedian in residence isn't just an in-house editor, but also ensures there is a mutually beneficial relationship between Wikimedia and the host organization during the term of the residency and beyond. To discuss how these relationships between Wikimedia and some host organizations are necessitated, how they are built, nurtured, we have invited some very special guests today who are experienced and very knowledgeable Wikimedians and Wikipedians and residents with interesting organizations and are behind some amazing initiatives. Today we have Bobby Shabangu, and Bobby Shabangu is from South Africa. He started editing Wikipedia in late 2012 on Swati and English Wikipedia. He volunteered under Joburgpedia. Bobby has been on the board of Wikimedia South Africa till 2021. He currently serves as the president of Wikimedia South Africa. He was a Wikipedian in residence at the United Nations Development Program in South Africa. Next, we have Alice Kibombo. Alice Kibombo is a member of Wikimedia Community User Group Uganda, where she has coordinated and facilitated a number of Wikimedia campaigns, workshops, contests, and edited tournaments in Uganda and Africa. She is also a librarian at Goethe Centrum in Kampala. She served as a Wikimedian in residence at African Library and Information Associations, aka AfLIA, between the year 2020 and the year 2021. And next we have Nicolas Vigneron. Nicolas Vigneron is a member of Wikimedia France. He has been editing on Wikimedia projects for 18 years. He is very knowledgeable in the world of libraries. He has made millions of contributions on French Wikipedia, Wikisource, Wikimedia Commons, Wikidata, and other Wikimedia projects. He just concluded his double shift or double service as Wikimedia residence at Clermont Auvergne University Library and the Auvergne Metropolitan Library. And next we have Florence Devouard. Florence Devouard is from France. She has been a Wikimedian since 2001. I call her the Wikimedian dinosaur. And she has served as Wikimedia Foundation first chair. She is also a founding member of Wikimedia France and a co-founder and co-lead of Wiki in Africa. She is currently a Wikipedian in residence at the World Intellectual Property Organization, aka WIPO. And lastly, we have Daniel Obiokeke, who is a member of Wikimedia User Group Nigeria. Daniel has been editing since 2015. He was a coordinator of Wiki Loves Africa International Photo Contest in Nigeria in 2017 and country organizer of Wikipedia Pages Wanting Photos in 2020 in Nigeria. He currently serves as a Wikipedian in residence at the Africa Narrative, a global initiative to bring awareness to Africa and its amazing creatives. Please welcome these special guests as we engage them. Hello, we will be starting with you, Bobby. Hello, Bobby.
Hi, how are you, Sislaus? And how are you to the community out there that are watching now?
Thank you so much. I'm fine. Thank you. And thank you for agreeing to be here with us today, Bobby. Could you please start by making a brief introduction of yourself, of course, beyond what I've said?
Well, I think you have introduced me quite correctly. My name is Bobby. My surname is Shabangu, and I live in Johannesburg. I have been a Wikipedian for over 10 years now, maybe 10 years. and Yeah, I am currently the sitting president or chair of the Wikimedia South African chapter. I love languages, especially to support small South African languages. That's where my passion is. I normally edit about anything or anything that is there on Wikipedia, anything that just interests my heart at that time. So yeah, I don't necessarily have any type of content that I'd like to edit about, that I want to focus into, but I just edit about anything. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm here, and yeah, thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And Alice, over to you. A brief introduction of yourself. Alice, can you hear me? Uh-oh. I think we might have lost her connection. Then you can go ahead, Nicolas, before she comes back.
Yeah. Your presentation was very good too. So I'm Nicolas Vigneron. I'm from France, in Bretagne, Brittany, west of France, exactly. I am indeed a contributor for more than 18 years now. Almost 4 million edits, including 3 million on Wikidata, which is a bit of cheating, but that counts. And I was a Wikimedian in residence for a year, and I finished last week in Clermont-Ferrand and the metropolitan area Clermont-Auvergne around it. And I will be next week new residency in Brittany, where I'm not right now, in the Brittany Museum, Musée de Bretagne, for another year. So I'm a professional Wikimedian in residence now, which was not expected, but it happens.
That's interesting, Nicola. It's safe to say you are just on the road. That's interesting. We'll hear more about that later. And over to you, Florence.
Hello, Sislaus. Thank you for being our host today, as every day. So I think you also introduced me pretty well. My name is Florence Devouard. On the project, I'm en terre. I am French as well. I'm living in a very big city in the south of France, which is called Marseille. And very briefly, I have been a Wikipedian for 20 years, a dinosaur, founding member of Wikimedia France, former chairwoman of Wikimedia Foundation. And as of today, I am active in several entities with several roles. I will mention 3 of them. So first, I'm the co-director of Wiki in Africa with AfLIA Adofload. I'm also the treasurer of Wiki in Africa, of Wikifranca, so the hub to be of the French-speaking Wikipedians. And of course, I'm a resident Wikipedian at WIPO. I would mention that I started as a Wikipedian in residence in February, normally for a duration of 6 months. But we recently had a discussion, and very probably I will continue this role next year.
Thank you so much, Florence. It's interesting hearing these amazing achievements of yours. Alice, can you hear me now? If you could, please introduce yourself before we move to Daniel.
Yes, I can hear you very well. The struggles of using Airtel on a Friday night in Africa. But good evening, and Bana-Uganda, Mujebale, Bonsoir, Guten Abend, and everything else in between. My name is Alice Kibombo. Now, Ceslas, this is a hard paper. You have already introduced me well enough. But just for context, I am based in Kampala, Uganda, and I was a Wikimedian in residence with AfLIA. I still maintain a working relationship with AfLIA, though most of my work now locally is with the Wikimedia Community User Group in Uganda. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Alice. I mean, it's good you got to introduce yourself because we thought you already said adios to AfLIA. But thanks for that new information. And lastly, you, Daniel, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Oh, so I'm Daniel. I've been editing Wikipedia since I was a teenager, and I probably happen to be one of the youngest Wikipedian in residences, in one of the youngest Wikipedians in residence that we've had in probably a long time. So I started editing the simple Wikipedia, and I found out there was so much to be done in different areas. So I got into the English Wikipedia, where I currently have about 200 articles, and I look forward to having 3 million edits, just like someone on the call today, just like Nicolas, one of these days. Yeah, and I'm currently the Wikipedian in residence for the African narrative, where we've got the Afro Creative Wiki project, going at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I mean, 200 articles on English Wikipedia. Perhaps one day you would walk us through the journey of this extreme sport. Thank you so
I'm
much.
ashamed of myself, Nicolas, standing shoulder to shoulder to Nicolas. I'm like an hummingbird while he's like a dinosaur. Come on.
Nah, if you're ashamed, we were proud on your behalf. Thank you so much. And then moving on to the next question. I mean, you've served or are still serving in the positions of Wikimedians or Wikipedians in residence at various host organizations. How did you get to become a Wikimedian or Wikipedian in residence in your host organization? And why did this become a necessary step for your host organizations? Over to you, Bobby.
Well, thanks for that question. How did I become a Wikipedian in residence? What happened was, it's actually a long story, but I'll cut it short. The UNDP heard about the Wikipedian in residence program. So they then contacted the Wikimedia Foundation, and then the Wikimedia Foundation, structured the prerequisites of the person that would fit the position, and then after that they advertised, and after advertising, I applied actually, and with a number of other people that were contacted directly. I think we were like 10. And then it was not easy to get into that position. We were interviewed. We went through 3 rounds of interviews actually, and then I was then hired as a Wikimedian in residence. But what I'd like to really highlight is that initially, UNDP did not really understand, how this Wikipedian in residence works, and what would be the outcome of it. They had a different view of it. They had a different understanding of what a Wikimedian in residence is until I got in there. I don't know if I can answer that, but for now, I'm just going to leave that question and give it back to the other colleagues. Thanks, over to you.
Thank you so much, Bobby. I mean, an organization that is into development would always keep its ears on the ground, to know what is the latest, especially as regards to open knowledge. It's interesting learning these very facts on how you got into the building, the UNDP building in South Africa. Thank you so much. And over to you, Alice Kibombo. How did you get into AfLIA? At what point did it become necessary for AfLIA to have a Wikimedian in residence? Alice, can you hear me? Oh, it's sad. I think her network has timed out again. That being said, Nicolas, you can please answer the question.
So the process was for becoming Wikipedian in Residence was pretty straightforward. A job offer online, shared on Wikimedia project and through Wikimedia France, who was a partner of the residency. And like Bobby said, there was several steps, nothing particular. The thing a bit specific was it was a free partner, because there was Wikimedia France and there was two networks of libraries, a public one and university one. So it took a long time to be put everything in the right place, to do a double shift, as you said before. And it was very important for them to make connection between the two institutions and to use Wikimedia project as tool to increase the connection between the institutions who are in the same place, basically, and but not always communicating enough or things like that.
Interesting. I mean, this gets to highlight the benefits of course, Wikimedia chapters and Wikimedia affiliates having outside partnerships, especially with institutions like libraries. Thank you so much for that strong point, Nicolas. And over to you, Florence. How did you get into WIPO?
So how did I become a Wikipedian in residence? It didn't come from me looking for WIPO. It came from WIPO itself. So that's a different story from the others. What happened is, to give a short summary, WIPO is one of the 15 specialized agencies of the United Nations. It was created to protect and promote intellectual property. And to do that, they have plenty of different activities. They have discussion forums, they have global services, they administer international treaties. And what is more interesting to us is that they make available a general database on all IP matters, IP-related matters, IP being intellectual property. And they produce a vast amount of reports, statistics, indexes on the state of IP globally and in specific country. So they produce a lot of information, a lot of expert content. So they got in contact with John Cummings. So maybe some of you know him. John Cummings has been working with the UNESCO as a Wikipedian in residence for several years. I don't think he's still working with it. I'm not entirely sure. But in any cases, as Wikipedian in residence at UNESCO, he had the opportunity to try to foster more interest in the other UN agency. And it so happened that WIPO had actually adopted CC BY license for all its report, all its production back in 2017. So it's already 5 years ago that they actually fully adopted an open license. So they listened to what John was saying, and they started a pilot a year ago. That was in August last year. John was followed briefly by Sherry and Ayla, who worked with them at the end of 2021. And then they did a sort of a summary of the outcome of the first pilot, and they really thought that they needed to move on, to continue, to expand the work, to increase, to move it to different languages. So they were starting to look for a longer-term Wikipedian in residence, and my name was given. So I was actually contacted by them. Ayla put us in contact, and we decided to work together. So this is how it happened. It was really something coming from them because they had plenty of expert content, and they really thought that it would make sense that this content is also shared more widely through our project. So that's it.
This is nice.
I would like to briefly add something that might make sense in this project. It's also very interesting that they are currently trying to get more UN agency adopt a CC BY license so that they could work with us as well. So the ball is rolling. Somehow it started from UNESCO, it moved to WIPO, and hopefully some more agencies will also require some Wikipedian residents in the future.
Wow, this is really eye-opening. And from your revelations, Florence, it's safe to say that the UN is in this for the long haul with the Wikimedia movement. And in the future, of course, we could be seeing much more Wikimedians in residence in respective of UN agencies and their allies. And thanks for mentioning that Ayla had some HR consulting thing on the side. I didn't know that. I thought she was just all about communications. Thank you so much. Alice, can you hear me now? Oh, this is sad. Daniel, perhaps you could attempt the question while we try to make
Yes,
sure
can you hear
Alice
me
has.
now? No, I've
Oh,
unmuted
yes.
Wait for
myself now.
Alice.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Sorry about the hitches you're having. So we were about asking you. I hope she's not gone again, please. Oh, she is. So,
I'm here with you.
oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Uh, I was scared for a minute. So, Alice, how did you become a Wikipedian in residence? And what benefit did the collaboration
Uh-huh.
bring to your host organization, AfLIA?
What benefit the collaboration had to AfLIA? Well, the short story is through a formal call and an application, but there's a background to that short story. We are all aware of One Lib, One Ref, and in 2020, we had the first African Librarians Week, and African librarians really contributed en masse to this program. And there was momentum for Wikipedia because the observation then was that African librarians were a latent force, like they had this energy that was waiting to be unleashed, and not just unleashed, but unleashed in the right direction and unleashed strategically. And the low hanging fruit at that point was Wikipedia. So AfLIA had the network of librarians, and the Wikimedia Foundation could offer the funds and an existing curriculum. So there was a coincidence of once, a very positive coincidence of once. And I came in through a formal call in what Ugandans would call a dangerous substitute, but I came in through that way. And that is how that partnership with AfLIA came through. Now, the benefits, and I do not want to seem boastful or be like a braggart, but I think very many communities in Africa have been able to feel the impact of African librarians in their communities. If you notice, it is African librarians that are actually leading some of the initiatives and the changes and driving some of the programs in their communities, either independently or under the collective of their local Wikimedia association. So that's how I came to be a Wikimedian in residence.
Thank you. Thank you so much. AfLIA must have been very lucky to, have somebody usher them judiciously into the, how do I say it, a much more
Into the Wiki
robust,
era.
Wikimedia happens to be a very large space, and if you don't know how, or if you're not guided properly, you could sink. So thank you so much, Alice, for highlighting your job at AfLIA. And lastly, to you, Daniel, please, how did you get to become a Wikimedian in residence, and what benefits does your role give to the African narrative?
One thing I believe, and many of my senior Wikipedians in residence would agree to, is the fact that before any one of us became Wikipedians in residence, we were already prepared for that role. I mean, it was the role had always been like we've always been preparing for it, the edits, the kind of programs we've always been involved with. The African narrative was looking for someone who would help to facilitate events contests, editathons for the creative industry in Africa, one thing the African narrative has always had in mind is that the creative economy in Africa could do so much more if the people, the stakeholders there, the actors, the actresses, and of course the sculptors and more of different sectors in the creative economy that we're going to explore, if they get to contribute to Wikipedia, you would agree with me that the library outreaches that we're having on Wikipedia, the outreaches to the medicine industry and the medicine sector, the outreaches to the photography sector and circles that we're having in Wikipedia is having a positive impact on the numbers of contributions that we are seeing from that sector. Talk about Wiki Medicine, talk about Commons, talk about Wiki Loves Africa, the different things we do to reach out to these people. It brings it brings a positive impact because we can retain people from those sectors. So the African narrative was like, come on, how about the creative people, the directors, the producers, the actors, the actresses, and the rest of everyone in the creative economy like that? Can we have them come around the wiki table, teach them how to edit Wikipedia? Let's, what would happen next? We know definitely that, we just had an editathon recently, and we had people from the creative industry coming around to edit Wikipedia, of course, complying with the conflict of interest policy and being thoroughly taught. So for me to have become a Wikipedian in residence, even from my application, it was just a matter of much of what I've done prior to applying was always based on the creative industry. I'd created some articles on actors, actresses, films and the rest of that. So it was very easy for my application to probably to scale, coupled with lots of things I've done in the community when I was applying. There were better people, I would tell you. There were better people, more experienced people. But then one thing or the other just picks you out of the crowd. And for the young people out there, I'll just really say it's when your contributions match. For example, if you are contributing to streets, streets in Washington DC or streets in Germany, and you're applying for Wikipedian in Residence role for an Asian food related or maybe a refugee related program, it might not match. So many Wikipedian residences have been working in line with what they ended up working in as an institution. So I believe one of the ways I got here was by those contributions, those little things, those little edits here and there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
That's an interesting rundown. I mean, myself living in Nigeria and seeing what musicians, for instance, are doing in the Nigerian space, yes, it makes sense for somebody to really show them how better to, do it, because it's not enough that you're putting on tons of creative works out there. How do you make sure that this is talked about the right way? How do you make sure that awards, intentional awards, can easily recognize that, oh, this person actually should be given this award and things like that. Thank you so much, Daniel. And moving to the next question. Before the era of Wikimedians in Residence, Wikimedia as a movement had been on its own in the promotion of free and open knowledge, keeping all engagements internal. Can you briefly tell us about the details of the respective roles that you have occupied as a Wikimedian in Residence, or you are currently, occupying? Editing, training. What does these roles, or what did these roles entail, your day-to-day activities? We can start with you, Bobby.
Sure. So the activities really that were involved with my residency at the UNDP was to basically preach the gospel of Wikipedia to the staff of UNDP, to teach the staff how to edit Wikipedia. And then, because of the reason that Florence gave earlier on about some of the UN agencies adopting the CC BY licenses, the staff, their role now we're supposed to add the content, mostly which was about the SDGs, the 17 SDGs on Wikipedia. So basically, I ran edit workshops in there. I digitized documents, which were thousands upon thousands, since 2014, since the country office, UNDP country office was founded. So my role was also to digitize those documents into Wiki Commons and Wikisource. But primarily was to train the staff in order for them to edit Wikipedia, so that the work that they do, they can contribute some of the work onto Wikipedia, and the reports that are produced as well, so that they can donate them or write about them on Wikipedia. So basically, that's what I was doing. And I need to mention that at the UNDP, because there is no position that is described as Wikipedian in residence, they actually had to change my position from being a Wikipedian in residence to being a knowledge management specialist. Eventually, it changed, and I was a knowledge management specialist. And they then extended my contract based on being a knowledge management specialist, because it was so much linked to my Wikipedian in residence position. Thanks. Over to you.
That's really amazing, Bobby. And the fact that you mentioned that your position was promoted to a knowledge management specialist, that gives another clue of what we Wikimedians actually do. What we do is we create knowledge, we curate the knowledge, if I would say, and manage it and disseminate it through the respective wikis that exist. Thank you so much, Bobby, for that amazing point. Over to you, Alice. What did your role as Wikipedia in residence at AfLIA entail?
Very many things. I was an evangelist, I was an agony aunt, one-man help desk. But when it actually came to the very many things, the primary responsibilities of the role, I need to mention that at this point that no two residences are actually the same. Each is unique in terms of the requirements of the parent organization, and that's why that relationship never ever ends. The needs evolve, different people come in, but the mission is the same. But back to the point, the first task was curriculum development. We used a curriculum that had been used in North America, and now we had to customize it to the African context. So I worked with Professor Rosemary Shafak from Cameroon. I think the foundation actually needs to employ this lady. So, and then the next task was to test it out on a pilot group of students, and it was a comedy of errors in very many ways. Things we thought we knew were not actually working, things we had overlooked. For example, we overlooked putting in a section that addressed local languages. We overlooked a session that taught about the Creative Commons licenses, but curriculum development was something that was very important, and that has never ended because the needs of the public that we serve keep evolving. So that curriculum needs to be developed to suit the times. And then there was documentation. Also, documentation was very key because you have to document every part of the journey, not just for yourself, but for the community, for accountability, and then also for posterity, that this is our mark and this is our contribution to the community. So, because I keep saying that the things that we do now are because somebody thought about having them first and they've laid that foundation. So we are just adding some other bricks onto that foundation. But then the other unspoken role there was just being a diplomat. And that encompasses very many things that tact cannot cover. One, the organization is looking at you as the person in between. You're the person in between the organization and the foundation. So everything Wiki related, whether it's understood or not, that's why I said you're the one-man help desk. And that's not the organization. It's also the people that you're dealing with, smoothing people's egos, bargaining with the foundation for A, B, C, D, E. So there's a lot that goes in. Maybe I need a debrief session to tell you everything that transpired. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alice. I mean, when you mentioned the diplomacy aspect of it, it actually cracked me up because I'm currently in a Wikimedian in Residence role and I can absolutely relate. There are lots and lots of diplomacy. But then
We
I
need Wikimedia diplomatic passports.
Interesting fact. Interesting fact. But then I mean, listening to you mention the curriculum building and documentation, which was also part of the point that Bobby mentioned, was part of his duties at the UNDP South Africa. So it looks like the commonality here could be the documentation. Thank you so much, Alice. And over to you, Nicola.
Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with what has been said before. There's so much different case, so much different people. There's indeed a lot of social skill and diplomatic skill to have. But basically, I can sum up in two main parts. The first one is do things yourself. Sometimes it's better to learn people to fish, but sometimes it's easier for Wikidata or specific mass important comments. I did it myself with specific tools. So I did some contribution myself. It was maybe a quarter of the time, more or less. And the big part was indeed training people. And before training people, you have to teach them what is Wikimedia project, what are they, because they know Wikipedia, of course. They know Wikipedia in French, in my case, but they don't know all the languages. They don't know all the sister projects behind it, how they interact to each other. Like, oh, for the photos, I need to go to Commons, not to Wikipedia. And Wikidata info boxes and everything is connected. So there was a lot of introduction presentation before starting training people. And then you have to adapt all the training to some people. Because I was there was an heritage library in the metropolitan area. So for them, I teach specifically Wikisource. In the university side, there was a lot of historians and people in human science interested in Wikidata. So I did specific thing, teaching them Sparkle and things like that. And so many much more things. And the important part, I think, is that in the end, it's not, there's a lot of technicalities, but it's not a technical project. It's a social project. You have to find the good subject for someone to contribute. Because sometimes they say, oh, I don't understand this tool or why I need to do this. But if it's a subject they like or they understand and they know well, they are more comfortable and the technicalities are much more easier. Not always easy, but easier at least. So indeed, there's a lot of social skill, diplomatic skill to custom tell every formation, every presentation to what they need. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Nicola. I mean, yes, when you hit the ground, or when you get the project off the ground, you might find out that you need to teach different stakeholders different aspects of Wikimedia projects. And the other strong point you made, it's not a technical project, it's a social project. That would stick with me forever. Thank you so much, Nicola. And over to you, Florence. What does
Yeah.
your role? I mean, I have
So yeah.
experienced your role during the Campus Photo Fest CC license webinar, but of course, there is more to your role. So please share with us.
Yeah, so it's as others mentioned that the first Wikipedian in residence were launched in the 2010s, roughly. So it has been over 10 years of Wikipedian of residence, and they have been numerous since then. And collaboration really came in different forms and shape. So a couple of things that are significant to my own residency are the following. First, in the past 6 months, I've been working about 12 different teams. The teams really work as teams. They do not work all together. So I am really in relationship with teams of 3, 4, maybe 2 people only, once at a time. And my main goal is to facilitate the reuse of their content on the English Wikipedia, French Wikipedia, Spanish Wikipedia, Wikimedia Commons, Wikidata, typically. And all of this has been done online. I went only once to the office, that was in July, for a visit, but otherwise everything has been done online through emails, shared document. And the first feeling is that it's an amazing source of information. I never had to do, as Bobby did, some digitization, for example. Everything is digital already. The content they provide is already completely aligned with our work. And a lot of it can be directly reused to improve our articles. And as I was saying earlier on, the cherry on the cake is that it's already on the CC BY license. So contrary-wise to many other Wikipedian residents, I don't really have to do any explanation of what is open source, it's interesting, what about free licenses. They already know all that. So it's not something I need to do. And we already have someone in the house who is a true believer of open source. So I don't really need to do that. So instead, I've been working mostly on content. And the content were either content directly related to WIPO, that was a few cases, or it was mostly article related to intellectual property, so very specific, very expert content. Or what I've been doing a lot is article related to technical innovation. So it could be patents, IP policies, cyber squatting, collective right management, emerging technology, assistive technology. So last one was fuel cell vehicles, for example. So very specific content. And what is super interesting is that the WIPO people really understand the notion of sources. And this is quite unique. I've been training hundreds of people in the past 20 years, and you always have to explain the sources to people, and they don't. So it's a pleasure because they are somehow by heart Wikipedians themselves. It's quite funny. So essentially, I've done it through 3 different ways. Either I train some of them and I mentor them to directly edit Wikipedia. There are a few cases, but I will explain why there are not so many of them. Second situation, we actually work offline on content. They send me a first draft, I boldly edit it, I give a feedback on it, I try to explain them the rules, the reason why something can be done, cannot be done. So usually we enter into very fine-tuned rules of our organization and our community. And that was an eye-opener for them. I still think they were very much in the idea that we were doing that, somebody come, put some info and goes away and that's it. And they realized our rules, our processes, and that was a big discovery for them. And there's a third case. They just point out to me interesting content and I take it, I analyze it, and then I decide to write something based on that material. But that's entirely my choice. One element which is very interesting in my opinion is that many of them don't want to directly edit. And initially I thought it was because they feared a bad reaction from the Wikipedia community, but many of them decide not to edit for a completely different reason. It's their fear of their own internal legal system. Because these people, they write very fine-tuned articles, source-specific. There's no fluff words in what they write. And everything they publish is reviewed by legal teams. They never publish something that is not heavily reviewed. So they thought, if we write directly a Wikipedia article, then we will have to have validation from our internal legal teams of the article, which is basically impossible. So that's their fear of getting in trouble with their own system that prevent them from directly editing. And I can understand that. So I'm often doing the go-between. So it's a very different role, I feel, that what others have been doing.
Nice. Thank you so much, Florence, for that digestive explanation of your role. And for those who didn't know, when Florence is fondly talking about creating, technical content, please know she has background in computer science, and it's not news. She's not straying far from home. So that buttresses what Daniel said earlier about probably they had been prepared one way or the other before getting into the roles as Wikimedians or Wikipedians in residence. And over to you, Daniel. What does your role as Wikipedian in residence at the African Narrative entail?
I actually envy every other person who is on this call right now who happens to be an offline Wikipedian in residence. Come on, you guys are having the fun of it, because before I became a Wikipedian in residence, I'd always dreamt of the offline thingy, going to the library, residence, come on. But I happen to be very offline with targets in Rwanda, Senegal, and Egypt. So those are the 3 countries our project is currently facing right now. And it's all remote, So I don't, just like Alice had rightly said, every one of us has different methods, different approaches to getting this, getting the Wikipedia gospel passed to the different sectors that we are currently focusing on. And but the goal is actually the same. So what I do at the African Narrative is basically to design the programs, the outreaches, the editathons that we have to facing the creative industry. I do the pre-mortem and post-mortem. I try to analyze what the current needs are, where the gaps are. Oh, this category has so number of articles before we start, and these are the issues that we might want to now address in the next editathon. For example, we had this category sheet where we checked through about 20 categories of 20 categories that were focused on the film sector in Egypt, Rwanda, Senegal, and Nigeria. And we got the number of articles that were in each of these categories, and we saw the numbers were very, very poor. And we tried to see, this category has so few a number, this category has so much a number, this country has more. And we went into the editathon with that mindset, we're like, this is where we should target another. And it's so beautiful to see that that statistic that we had that was very low in April has now become very green, lots of contributions. Especially, I'm excited about that because it's not even about articles being added to that category, to those categories. It's about many articles we actually created into that category. So aside from analyzing the current state of things in order to design programs for the African Narrative, I also do a lot of explanation. There's something in tech, in normal tech broad range. They're called developer advocates. So that's what a lot of Wikipedians in residence actually become, developer advocates. Developer advocates understand a code base, right? They understand how whatever works with other Linux or Microsoft. You understand what all those products are. Then they now go into the developer circles and explain to them how to apply those things to their applications. So that's what we as Wikipedians in residence do. We understand what Wikipedia is. My God, I've been taken to places where I probably didn't even know, when I became a Wikipedian in residence, because I happen to have this organization that actually it's led by someone very curious and open-minded. She wants to know, why is this like this? Oh, is it like this? Is it like this? And a lot of times I just keep seeing a lot of Wikipedia tools. I keep seeing lots of fresh things when it comes to Wikipedia. So it's even a place for me to learn. So you would think I'm here to just analyze, design programs, host editathons, do edit buckets, tax buckets, because before these editathons, you also have to gather the tasks that people are going to do. So it's like you're going through the entire Wikipedia to scout for typos, for wrong things that have been done. You'll not do them yourself. You'd have to gather them together for other people to do, So, and it's also a big process for me to learn. For example, I've learned a lot of things about the Arabic Wikipedia and the French Wikipedia while being the Wikipedian in residence. I've seen the differences between the English Wikipedia and how the Arabic Wikipedia runs, from the Senegal. So it's a place. The most exciting part about being a Wikipedian in residence is the fact that I get to learn. So that's basically it.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for that exhaustive explanation. I mean, you even touched the project management aspect of things. And most importantly, you also, highlighted how the Wikimedian and Wikipedian in residence role is a fellowship in the Wikimedia movement. And I would say it's actually the biggest fellowship that exists in the Wikimedia. Thank you so much for those amazing points. And then coming to you, Alice, you were the
Yes.
visiting Wikimedian at the Wikimedia
Yes.
Deutschland in 2020,
Yes.
during which you also aided to plan the Wikimedia Summit. In what ways was your role as the visiting Wikimedian at Wikimedia Deutschland different from the Wikimedian in residence role you had at AfLIA?
All right. I can't actually speak on this situation without acknowledging the individuals and the teams that were actually involved in these endeavors. So, Cornelius, if you're somewhere here listening, please type so that I can know you are alive. Yeah. But these roles were actually, they were as similar as they were different. Now, there was a similarity in terms of learning, but there was also a difference when it came to learning, because when I was the visiting Wikimedian, I was there to share what I knew, but I was actually learning a lot more and expanding my world of knowledge. And then when it came to AfLIA was an environment of continuous learning. When you're with somebody like Dr. Nkem, you have no way of escaping learning. When you're with somebody like Stanley, you will learn everything there is to know about efficient communication and project management and being precise and delivering things on time. When you're with somebody like Doreen, you will know what it is like to manage an audience that has so many people of different walks of life. Now, the other difference was with the target audiences that I was working with. When we were planning for the summit, the summit involves Wikimedians from all over the globe. You know, their chapters, the decision makers, the executive directors, and they're talking about the movement strategy. Now, AfLIA was another ball game altogether. These were librarians all over Africa, and I'm still going to mention some of the individuals on this project, on this panel too. It needed for me to have a larger network, and I call Bobby Mr. Connector. Now you will know why I call him Mr. Connector, because when I spoke to Bobby initially, Bobby was one of the first people who introduced me to what we call Wikibarians that were actually doing things that I am still amazed about. I even still wonder why they choose to go incognito, but those are personal reasons for them, yeah? And also dealing with the number of people. You know, when you're dealing with the summit, it's I won't call it a select few, but that's the most appropriate way to word it. And then with AfLIA, it was over 500 librarians, and you had to learn to meet each one at their level. So I keep saying to people that Wikimedians are not a homogeneous entity. Each one has different learning needs, and each one has a certain way in which they can be approached for the best impact. So that's just a summary of the differences. But like I mentioned, the difference and the similarity were in the learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alice. I mean, this is more than a summary. You gave revelations which are actually interesting to the ears. You know, hearing Visiting Wikimedian and Wikimedian in Residence could, easily be mistaken to be very similar roles. Thank you so much for the insights that you just shared with us. And coming to you, Nicola.
Yeah. Go on.
One metropolis, two Wikimedian in residence roles, two libraries, one in the university, the other with the Metropolitan Library. Nicholas, how did this happen? How do these two roles differ from each other? Please share with our audience.
That was not always easy, to be honest, but that was, in all respect, it was a very good idea, and I share bridges between the institution. It was a very good idea, but it was not always easy. And the story behind is that a century ago, 100 years ago, when it was created, it was actually the same institution, because at that time there was a few library and everything. So they have a common history. Now it's 15 libraries for the metropole area, and maybe 20 for the university in several places all over the place. So they are separated, they have each their life, but they have common grounds where we can do things, where sometimes they realized, because I did some share training with people from both sides, and they realized, oh, we do the same thing on both sides. Maybe we need to talk together or things like that. And this is very rewarding, because now they understand that Wikipedia can be a tool in their real job, and they can use it as a platform to share documents or things like that. And that was very rewarding, because I know they will keep doing it once I'm gone, because when you do a residency, you want it to keep going after you're gone. You lay foundation, as Alice said before, so it keep going. And if it's really useful, they keep doing it. And the good part also with two residency in one is that I could make things more custom made. For instance, in the university, it was a bit more technical, but sometimes there was people from the Metropolitan Library, which was also a bit technical. So they wanted to come, and I said, yeah, no problem. That's two residency, but that's one and the same. So you can come to specific thing on the other side, and vice versa. You can share things. And it was very As I said, not always easy, but very rewarding in the end. And maybe for the, how they set it up together, there was actually, to begin with, a convention between the two institutions and Wikimedia France, which lay ground and explained what it was before it started, which is always nice. And one of the director on the metropolitan side was already more or less into Wikimedia and looking to do residency, but it was not really possible alone or just for 6 months. It's a bit short, so they wanted to do something bigger. And then this person, Pierre Tribou, I can say his name, thank you, shared it with some other people, and the director from the university library said, hey, yeah, I'm interested, and that's how they make it happen and make it work. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Nicolas. I mean, as modestly as you're saying it, I know that it wasn't an easy role by any means. I mean, dealing with the respective technicalities that the Metropolitan Library needed and the one that the University Library needed. And yes, I agree with you that every opportunity that we get to let outside organizations know that the Wikimedia could fit into any spec or any space in life, yes, we should take that. I mean, someone I had a chat with at Institut Français here in Nigeria called us a bunch of ghost workers because you don't meet these people, you probably don't know them, but something is happening. If something happens to, let's say, Macron at this instant, you go to his Wikipedia article, you see it. So who are these guys? So she settled with calling us ghost workers. So yes, when we get the chance to give them the rude awakening of our impact, we really should embrace it both ways. And coming to you, Florence, sometime in July 2022, the World Intellectual Property Organization rejected the application of 7 Wikimedia chapters to join the World Intellectual Property Permanent Observers. Florence, how does your Wikipedian in Residence arrangement work with World Intellectual Property Organization if 7 Wikimedia chapters are not allowed to be permanent observers? Why do you think their applications were even rejected?
Yeah, that's Dublin. Very good question. Super short answer. It doesn't disturb my activity in the least, not at all. I think the main impact it might have, though, is that the staff people at WIPO are aware of the situation and fear that Wikipedians are somehow mad at them because of that situation. But I need to explain a little bit what happened to make it clear. So WIPO is the UN agency that determines global policy on copyright, on patent and trademark. But the WIPO's activity are mostly done by WIPO staff. There are about 1,500 people worldwide, and those are the people I work with, not the 1,500, but those are the staff people I work with. And those people are mostly experts. All the one I know, the one I worked with, talk with, are frankly favorable to our project. And we already know they are favorable to free licenses because they produce under free licenses. And if anything, those are beautiful person to work with because they are super detail oriented. They know what IP is about and they know why sources are important. But those are staff members, and WIPO is a membership-based organization. And the members of WIPO are member states. There are 193 member states who are members of WIPO. And those people, as part of the governance done by WIPO, they will have some committees, some what they call standing committees to organize their work. And one of those committees, for example, is called the Standing Committee on Copyright and Related Right, that's the SCCR. And these are typically places where they discuss and they imagine and they negotiate a future development of intellectual property laws worldwide. And those committees are made up WIPO members, WIPO country representative. They are made up non-governmental organizations as well as private companies, enterprise, which offer expertise in helping WIPO to realize the global mandate somehow. So what happened is that back in 2020, the Wikimedia Foundation proposed itself as what we call an observer status on this committee. The observer is not just observing, it's actually participating to the discussion, giving opinion, advice, expert information. And they were rejected in 2020. They submitted an application again in 2021, they were rejected again. So this year, in 2022, 6 Wikimedia chapters applied again to be non-governmental organization under this observer status to provide their expertise on IP matters, because we are basically super experts on IP matters compared to many organizations in the world. And again, this was rejected. There was also submission from, I think, 7 chapter members to become permanent observer at WIPO. So for all forums, discussions, meetings, and again, it was rejected. So it's super weird because normally this shouldn't happen, because this is not rejected by staff member in any way. The rejection came from only one member state, one amongst 180 member states, and this state is China. And China rejected the 2020 application, the 2021, and the 2022. So normally there is no veto system, so it shouldn't happen. But in practice, the member state tends to operate by consensus, and because China opposed, then they rejected the application. There were several comments made on that, some letters from other organizations who are already observers, such as Creative Commons, for example, who are supporting our membership, but it's not working. And of course, that would help in being a guarantee of a global and diverse presence of civil organization in the committees, to ensure that copyright policies reflect the need of the global web ecosystem. So from a governance perspective, this is really bad and this is really a problem. But for me, I don't work with the governance, within the governance system. I work with the WIPO staff people. And the WIPO staff people are totally unrelated to this. So all they can express is their own dismay, but it doesn't disturb in any way the work I do. You also ask, why did that happen? Why it was rejected? Frankly, this is politics. So I prefer not to give an opinion on this, because there are many opinions, there were many arguments that were given. I can simply say that the first year, I think that the official reason which was given is that the applications of Wikimedia Foundation was incomplete. Okay, so it was incomplete in 2020. Okay, maybe. So that's it. If you want to find out more why it's maybe the reason behind this, I invite you to go and look on Google.
Thank you so much, Florence. I mean, with all these rejections flying about, I think I'm very grateful they even let a Wikipedian in residence in at whatever level. So
no. Frankly, it's not an issue for them. If anything, they might be even rather embarrassed, because I am sure they think we should be there, and we should be there, and we should participate to the discussion. And that this is one of the reasons why also in my work I am being super specific. I can't tell you. I'm not telling them how to edit a wiki page, basically. I'm explaining them things such as de minimis and freedom of panorama and UA, things that are very specific, fine-tuned rules, to show them that we are not just a group of random people working together, but that we are a really self-organized community. So it further convinced them that we are not just, funny players.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think many of them are already convinced. Are just even being more convinced than before.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that explanation. we are hoping that in the nearest future they can, of course, allow more subject matter experts to come through the door. And coming to you, Bobby, handling your Wikipedian in residence obligations with your engagement at Wikimedia South Africa, it must have been quite challenging. What exact role were you handling at Wikimedia South Africa then? How did you marry and manage the both of them?
Thanks for that question, Sislao. I think this thing of collaboration really helps when you are working in an organization, and especially if you're working in an organization like the UNDP, as well as being involved, as a volunteer in an organization like Wikimedia South Africa. In Wikimedia South Africa, we have experienced editors, and we've got experienced Wikimedians. So basically, my role as the president is to provide oversight. It's just to give guidance of where do I want to see the chapter going, and then the volunteers that are there, they really help, with taking that vision towards where I want to see it. I don't have to do all the work by myself. When it comes to finances, we've got people that are doing the finance for us. When we've come to administration, we've got people that are doing the administration for us. We even have interns, that are doing the communications with the help of, experienced Wikipedians who are, very, very much experienced in communications. So basically, in the chapter, really was just whenever we're having our meeting to provide, that guidance and to provide the oversight and to just tell the chapter members that this is the project plan that I have for this year as the president, and I see it, I see the direction of our chapter going this way, and then I receive support from the chapter members, the board members, and the community members. And it made my life easier when it comes to balancing the work that I'm doing at UNDP, as well as the work that I'm doing within the chapter. At UNDP as well, I did not necessarily work by myself. The other thing that is important, colleagues, that I need to really underscore, talking helps. If you are working in an organization and you feel uncomfortable, or you feel that you are strained in the position that you're in, talk. Just go to management and explain. Have a plan first to say, look, I feel that my work is too much. And is it possible that I can have interns that can help, or I can have maybe 2 or 3 colleagues that will help this way? And you give management a plan. And if it's coming from management, it's more easier. I had colleagues earlier on talking about diplomacy. It's something that I had to also, a thread, diplomacy at the UNDP, because some of the colleagues did not really understand this. They read Wikipedia, but they did not understand the value add. Why do they need to involve themselves with what I'm doing, and the value add of me being there, So, but the more we did the work, is the more they understood, and is the more I needed help. And if I saw that, well, I don't get support, I really speak to management, who really supported me in my wiki work, in my Wikimedian work, and which eventually changed to a knowledge management work. And really, so it was basically speaking and basically, putting a plan together and being organized, just talking to people, and don't stress too much anyway. That's the other thing that I just experienced, that try to have fun as much as you can, in that midst of all of these, work that is really coming out on your way. Try to find a way, but try to find a way that will make it easy for you to, go through it and have fun in the process. Thanks. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Bobby. It's really important, knowing how Wikimedians in residence can handle their volunteer obligations amongst other things. And thank you for highlighting the importance of, talking about things, having discussions around your workload, your work schedule, and how you can be helped to better deliver on your projects. And coming to you, Daniel, I recall a discussion myself and you, Daniel, we had, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 months ago, about how to propose a Wikimedia residency program to organizations. Daniel, what type of organizations do you feel could benefit from having a Wikimedian in residence? How can one go about making such propositions to such organizations? Please share with our audience.
Thank you very much, Teslaus. It's unfortunate I won't be able to share my screen right now. It's getting darker in Nigeria, and I don't have indoor light. So here is it. Before I became a Wikipedian in residence, I'll tell you a very funny story. I wrote the Wikipedia article for 3 different Olympic recognized organizations. I think I wrote the Wikipedia article for the International Jump Rope Association. I wrote the Wikipedia article for the International Dodgeball Association and another international organization, which I can't remember. And to be very sincere, I wrote a mail to them and said, "Hi, I'm Daniel, I'm 21. Please, I just created a Wikipedia article, and I know you guys have a lot of knowledge base in this sport, maybe the rules and regulations, maybe the athletes involved, maybe the past events and everything. I know you guys have a lot of things out there. If you want to hire me, please." And only one of them got back to me. I think it was International Jump Rope Association. And they were like, "Oh, how do we bring you in?" And I was sending them the Wikipedia article for Wikipedian in residence. I was explaining to them how they could go about it. And it seemed they didn't really understand what I was saying. Then another day, I applied for Wikipedian in residence role. And guess what? Guess the response I got. The response I got was, "Unfortunately, every one of you that applied for this Wikipedian in residence role, all of you are not qualified." I was like, "What?" They said everyone was not qualified, so they would have to close the role for that Wikipedian in residence role. So back to the question, the best way for to liaise with people, and seriously, Teslaus, I would if someone else wants to help with that question, because of course you can see I failed at it woefully. The best way I think anyone could liaise with any organization to accept the Wikipedian in residence is, first of all, the association itself should be very, very, very ready and very, very it should be in need of the Wikipedia touch. For example, maybe an organization that wants to move up lots of their archive of knowledge archive to Wikipedia and all of that. Probably lots of Nigerian universities, I see them as very good avenue to have Wikipedian in residence, because a lot of them are professors, PhD students doing a lot of work and a lot of research work going on in Africa for real. So the thing is, if the organization is aligning with Wikipedia's goals, it gives once they're aligning, once they are needing, when I say needing, there's when you look at an organization and you just know that, oh, these guys have a lot of need. For example, in the UNDP, when Bobby was, I don't know if there were times where you probably had to reach out to the communities, because these people are doing a lot of stuff. Maybe someone in the UNCHR, probably, teaching refugees outside the Wikipedia and writing about Wikipedia accounts. What I'm doing for the African narrative, for example, is the fact that they just know that lots of African films, actors, actresses are not on Wikipedia. Why is one movie, one Broadway movie on Wikipedia, and lots of African movies are not on Wikipedia? That was what sparked the need. So first thing is, once an organization is aligning and they see the need, it's always very easy, because it's not even enough for you to write an organization and say, oh, I'm Alice, I've got this, we've got, there's Wikipedia, there's funds available if you want to put up a Wikipedia in residence program. The Wikimedia Foundation as well has to find a rationale in you wanting to get a Wikipedian in residence, as long as you want them to fund it. You could go get a Wikipedian in residence for anyone cares if you are going to fund it yourself on your own rationale. But if you want the Wikimedia Foundation to fund it, you definitely want to have a lot of rationale. So the thing is, once there's a purpose and it's aligning and the organization sees the need, just like they say, nothing stops an idea whose time has come. It's definitely going to click. Once they see the need, first of all, and it aligns with the Wikimedia goals, it's very easy to move on with it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And I don't think you failed in that aspect, okay? I mean, the fact that you even got responses, good or bad, you didn't fail. And what you just shared now could help someone, And then this is actually recorded, and by the time other people come to watch the session, they can pick a thing or two about your proactiveness. Thank you. And moving on to the next question. As much as Wikimedians are volunteers, right? The role itself is largely remunerated. Do you think Wikimedians should maintain their volunteer status even as Wikimedians in residence, as there are, of course, some Wikimedians in residence that are volunteers or that have done under the volunteer arrangement? And if not, how does a Wikimedian in residence go about ensuring he or she is adequately compensated? Florence, you can attempt this question.
I can answer very quickly. Very briefly, I certainly do not think that Wikimedians should necessarily maintain volunteer status. If they can, and if they want to, yes, please stay volunteer. But many Wikipedian residents are financially compensated, so they can provide high quality and quite time-consuming work with various obligations. Some of them are compensated by their host organization. Some ORs cannot dedicate fund at all, and some grants requests can be made to Wikimedia Foundation or to some of the Wikimedia chapter for that. So it's a mix. Sometimes it's volunteer, often it's compensated, and I think it's completely okay.
Thank you so much. And Bobby, do you think we are just what the thank you for coming handshakes, or should we get paid?
I'd like to agree 100% with what Florence has said, actually. As a Wikimedian in residence, you are actually not necessarily a Wikipedian, a volunteer, but you act more like a project manager or a program manager. And you facilitate the relationship between the organization, the hosting organization, and your organization. And Wikipedia. So you are the person who is in between. Think about it. You have to go every day and take a taxi or a train to the hosting organization. What are you gonna do there? What money are you gonna use? To go there. You have to eat when you are there. You need internet. You've got needs. I mean, you're a person at the end of the day. And most Wikipedians who are volunteers, they actually work. They do have full-time work. I'm talking about Wikipedians. Think about it. Now we are doing this project. We are based there full-time, and you're not getting anything. It's not fair. So either your user group or your organization needs to apply for funding so that you can get compensated somehow with the role that you play. At the UN where I was at, they did not understand this role of volunteering. They just told me that we give you a package, a salary, and then they gave me, a salary, a healthy one, by the way, I need to admit, very healthy salary. And yeah, I became a Wikipedian in residence who's earning very, very, very much good salary. And eventually, I also became a knowledge management, who was also responsible of the communication of the country office, which meant that I read all the reports, identify results and impact, and see which ones are supposed to go on Wikipedia and which one are supposed to, remain in the country office. So basically, I think it's very, very important. Thanks over to you.
Thank you so much, Bobby. That was very hilarious explanation. And lastly, let's take your reaction on this question, Alice. Then we'll move on.
I need to put this out there. A residency is a curated position. It is a very strategic placement, yeah? You are furthering the vision and the mission of the organization in which you have been put. That needs to be put out there. Now, the other thing you need to know is that being a Wikimedian for very many people provides responsibility for skills that they may have learned out of Wikipedia, and it is also an outlet maybe for their interests or their creativity and everything. But the work that is being demanded of you is a combination of your interests, it's a combination of your time, it's a combination of your efforts, mental cells. I can say that because I'm comfortably sitting upstairs in my rich people's house, yeah? Like Bobby, I benefited a lot. So it is actually full-time work when you think about it. There are things that are being demanded of you that are not even necessarily Wikimedia related, which other people are actually getting paid for. So back to the point, it's a carefully curated position, and it is a strategic placement. So you will need to get funding because bills do not stop knocking at your door, but you're dedicating your working hours, your waking hours, your time, your effort, and a lot more into this work.
Thank you so much, Alice. I mean, all the responses actually hit one very important point.
Sorry,
Your
Sizzla.
views don't. Okay,
Let me add
go
something
ahead.
to that. Okay. The other thing to know is compensation initially might not necessarily be monetary. Yeah. It could come from individual satisfaction. That's where if people still want to be volunteers and Wikimedians in residence, fine, that will provide responsibility for that. But compensation could also come from an increased network and opportunities, because somebody is always watching and you're laying your foundation at that. But compensation may also come from just developing your individual potential, because like I mentioned, working as a volunteer provides responsibilities for skills that we have actually gotten out of the Wikimedia world.
Thank you so much, Alice, for that vital point. It, of course, couldn't, I mean, we can't just tie the compensation to money, as we all know. And then the last question, you all have experience being Wikimedians or Wikipedians in residence. What benefits can one derive from the role? If you could give an advice or two to those who are intending to someday become Wikimedians or Wikipedians in residence, what would you say to them? We can start with you, Nicolas.
So very shortly, I would say be curious always, because there's so much to do. There's so much different projects, everything, everywhere. So if you miss the opportunity to learn new things inside the project. You will miss like 10 years ago there was not Wikidata, and now it's fundamental part of the ecosystem of Wikimedia and things like that. So yeah, I would say in a few words, be curious, learn new things, go outside just Wikipedia, because there's so much inside Wikimedia outside Wikipedia. That's it.
Thank you so much, Nicolas. How about you, Daniel?
The piece of advice I'll give to future Wikipedians in residence is that, sincerely, Wikipedia is in trouble. You know, the biggest hive of information, free information, neutral information in the world is in trouble because nobody, or let me say, because it's not going to edit itself. It's not going to expand itself. It's not going to update itself. We have to protect Wikipedia. We have to keep it running. We have to ensure that Wikipedia is as fresh as the scrolls in the Red Sea. You know, we have to ensure that it is neutral, and we've got to protect it. So it's beyond having that big title, you know, that big title, which of course is very temporal. Wikipedians in residence are paying a very, very, very huge price. You know, a lot of them are putting their careers on hold, you know, to be able to, you know, take on, you know, the temporal role. Some of them got permanent roles anyway. But then Wikipedia is in trouble, and we've got to save it, because not just because of Wikipedia, but because of the world itself, the world that depends on it, the future that depends on it. So whenever you become a Wikipedian in residence in future, or probably you are now, just know that there's a lot of work to be done. Roll up your sleeves and let's get to it. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel, for that advice. How about you, Florence?
Just to add an additional element, because I agree on what the other said. After 20 years of participation on Wikipedia, most of your own personal skills you already put into Wikipedia. So there's come a moment where you think, so now what's next? And you don't always find what's next. You don't always have the good material to go further. And for me, one of the reasons I loved, and one of the big benefits, is the happiness and pride to be editing again some specific article with expert content. That was a big satisfaction that I had the first few years on Wikipedia, and then I lost on the way at some point because, hey, what am I going to write about now, right? So it was sort of reviving. It was getting some big motivation again. Yeah, really loved it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And you, Bobby, what would you say as an advice?
I think the advice is, you know, as you are striving to be a Wikimedian in residence, should it happen that you get that role, try as much as you can to learn from the hosting institution as well. There are many things that I've learned at the UN you can never believe, and you learn every day, really. And yeah, don't go with the mindset that you know you're a Wikipedian. Just open yourself up. I think that will also build you as a person. Thanks about you.
Thank you so much, Bobby, for that. And lastly, you, Alice, what advice do you have?
A lot of things to say, but I'll pick two, yeah? All right. The role of the Wikimedian in residence in relation to the organization seriously needs to be understood. Otherwise, that role will get bastardized in the years to come. Now, having said that, the first thing I will say to anybody is no two residences are the same. Each comes with its own unique set of responsibilities, but the components that are needed for this partnership to succeed, they are not any different. First and foremost, you need goodwill from the organization. That means that there's a team that you are working with, I enjoyed my residency because of Dr. Nkem and Stanley, as well as Doreen, because I was now working with a team of people who considered me a peer. But the other thing that you will need, in addition to the goodwill, is a vision bearer within the organization. So that when you're low, when you are discouraged, this is your sounding board. And you can say, listen, I am feeling down. This is what we tried. It did not work. Why is this not working in the way that we want? And they will be your buffer between any negativity as well as the organizational expectations. So you need the goodwill and you need a vision bearer. And if you are to enjoy the residency, apply for a residency in an area or in a position that you love. Yeah. The role can be as rewarding as it is exhausting, but when you are actually interested in that area, you will find that you are continuously thinking of ways to refine it, for ways of leaving a legacy, for ways of making things better for the people that are going to come after you. Those are the two things that really come to mind when I think of advice to our residents.
Wow. You guys have been amazing, of course, with the respective advices that you've shared. And we know that the people who are watching right now have taken these advices into, of course, their very safe chests and will always bring them out when the needs arise. Thank you so much.
Sorry,
Alicia.
lastly, Laus, on that,
Okay.
as the resident, please maintain a positive working relationship with the host organization. That is very important. When we were talking about compensation and I talked about networks and opportunities, that's your network and that's your opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for that very vital point, because I think largely you being retained in the organization actually would depend on how much you have in, of course, good rapport with the organization. Thank you so much, Alice, for that very vital point. And thank you so much, Bobby Shabangu, Alice once again, Nicolas Vigneron, Florence Devouard, and Daniel Okeke. You've been amazing and mind blowing in your responses to the questions. Um, I would, I don't know, but I was looking out for any questions from the audience, but there seem to be none.
Oh my God.
But then somebody was hitting me on WhatsApp with questions in advance. But it's unfortunate we don't have a live stream on WhatsApp yet. And I will just go ahead and ask the question from Wilson. Wilson was asking in particular, how do you, deal with conflict of interest? Talk about being a Wikimedian and talk about making your host organization happy. Can anybody attempt this question?
Can I answer that?
Florence? Okay, fine. Go ahead, Nicolas.
The quick word I would say is transparency, because you can never, there will always be some kind of conflict between money or investment or glory or whatever, especially with a community of thousands of people on Wikimedia. There's always something that may happen badly. But if you're transparent right away, if you say out loud everything, it will be easier at least. It's not a perfect solution, but that's a start.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you so much
Disclosure,
for answering.
disclosure.
Thank you. Full disclosure, as Florence rightly mentioned, could help you manage conflict of interest. The other question I got from WhatsApp, guys, I wish in the nearest future we can stream live on WhatsApp. That would be so nice. Is how did you manage participants versus community interaction as regards your initiatives and projects? Alice, I think you might be in the best position to answer this.
I beg your pardon. How did I manage participants versus
community engagements?
Hey, this is a hard paper. Um, all right, depending on the requirements of the residency, it's not like you'll be there every day 8 to 5, but there's definitely a time commitment for that. Yeah. Now, at times, also depending on the complexities of the residencies, some, just because by virtue of time, will compel you to give up your volunteer activities. And then some will allow you to actually engage in volunteer activities, because much as you're a resident, you also want to know what's going on in the world that actually cultivated you. So it's not like you are at work all the time 8 to 5. By the way, it can be a 25/8 undertaking. Yeah, people will send you messages at 3 a.m. and they want an answer at that point in time. So you could have, like in my position, my active days were Tuesday to Friday, and then the rest of the time I would still have for community engagements. But if you are part of a local user group, inform your user group that this is the position that I have, and these are the implications on time and finances that this position is going to pose, so that they can move away from reliance on you as an individual, or they can contact you when it's absolutely necessary, but be very clear with your local user group if you are part of one and you hold a position of responsibility there.
Thank you so much, Alice. And with that, I say a big thank you to Wilson for asking these questions. I mean, this has provided more insight. And of course, a bigger thank you to our special guests who have patiently responded to these questions that have been asked. And we now move to the news items for today. With me today to share the news updates is Noni Nicolas, who is our admin at Wiki in Africa. Hello, Noni.
Hi, Sislaus.
Thank you for accepting to do this with me today. The first item on the news is to let you know that the voting window for the Wikimedia Foundation 2022 Board of Trustees election is still on till 6th September 2022. Please cast your votes if you are eligible.
The Wikimedia Sound logo contest will run from the 13th of September to the 10th of October. Please participate.
Wiki Loves Women Inspiring Open Podcast has released episode 12 and episode 13 with Emna Mizuni and Nana Dakwa Sekiyama as special guests, respectively. Please listen to the episodes.
The call for applications for Africa Knowledge Initiative Implementing Partners is on and ends on the 4th of September 2002. Please apply.
2022, you mean, Nani?
Yes, sorry, 2023.
And the Wiki Loves Monuments 2022 International Photo Contest has started. You can participate by taking and uploading quality images of monuments.
The Wiki Loves Monuments International team has selected Lucy Iwola and Ruben Ojeda to join the international team. Lucy is a member of the Igbo Wikimedia user group from Nigeria, and Ruben is a member of Wikimedia Hispana from Spain.
The Wiki Loves Earth international team would love to share exciting stories from local organizers on international blogs and social media. It could be about your local winners and their journey, approach, or features of organizing the contest. interview with a jury member, participant, or organizer, or anything else you consider interesting, contact wikiloves-women-team at wikimedia.org.ua if you have a story to tell.
Wikimedia is participating in the winter edition of this year's Outreachy between December 2022, says Laos, and March 2023. If you have some ideas for coding or non-coding, such as design, documentation, translation, outreach, research projects, the deadline to submit projects on the Outreach website is September 30th, 2022.
Creative Commons is offering 41 additional scholarships for their upcoming Creative Commons certificate for GLAM courses. For those who don't know, GLAM stands for Galleries, Libraries, Archives, and Museums. You can get up to 60% scholarship for courses starting this September and courses starting in 2023.
Community members are invited to join the Movement Strategy Forum. Interesting discussions on the 2030 movement strategy happen on the platform.
Thank you so much, Noni. And lastly, applications to become a certified trainer of the Reading Wikipedia in the Classroom program are still accepted. Deadline is September 4th, 2022. And you can view all the news updates and the links on which to take action in the WikiAfrica Hour newsroom section on the WikiAfrica Hour meta page. And to close, the Wikimedian in Residence role is one of the very impactful fellowship programs in the Wikimedia movement. In fact, it could be said to be the highest fellowship in the movement. We have heard from our special guests about how this residency program could be proposed, onboarded, and executed. They have also shared the benefits and the impact of the role, both to the host organization and to the Wikimedian in Residence. We hope that the details and insights they've shared today help a lot of Wikimedians who most likely will find themselves in the role in the nearest future towards, of course, spreading the good news of the Wikimedia movement and that of free and open knowledge. On behalf of the Wiki in Africa team, I say a big thank you once again to you, Bobby Shabangu, Florence Devouard, Alice Kibombo, and Daniel Keke, and you also, Nicolas Vigneron, for finding time in your busy schedules to honor our invitation. I also thank everyone who has been with us from the get-go till now. I remain your host, Ceslos Bunaya, and I wish you a happy weekend. See you next time.
This episode of WikiAfrica Hour was hosted by Ceslos Obanaya. Let us know what topics you want to discuss and join us next month on the same channels. Subscribe to the Wiki in Africa YouTube channel and follow WikiAfrica on social media.